Welcome to Absolute Comics, right here at the Comic Story Podcast Network. Every Tuesday at about 5 p.m. Eastern, I sit here with Sal from Comic Pop. I'm Benny from Comic Storian, and we talk about the latest and greatest news in the world of comic books and the latest things that we've read. Today, we're joined by a special guest, the man of the hour, the guy who edits every one of these episodes, the other podcasts, every other D&D show we work on, and he owns your favorite hot dog stand over in Austin, Texas.
Is that true? Do you own a hot dog stand?
No, and I don't live in Austin.
Dylan! Welcome to the show, Dylan.
Hi. I feel like, yeah, that's an appropriate intro to me. I don't make anything on my channel anymore. It's dead.
It's dead, all right?
I was letting you decide what to do. I saw your tweet. You're like, that video I've been working on for 4 months that has Owen's Like Comics in it. It'll eventually come out.
You're like, I'll give it to Owen, let him put it out.
It's about Miles Morales and the Return to the Ultimate Universe and how messy that's been thanks to Bendis and other things.
Wait. Hold on. We're going to talk about that for a moment because we're covering that Miles story, you and I, Dylan, on the channel. Which is hilarious because I just did 2 more issues of it, sent it over to Dylan, and his reaction was, I haven't even read this far yet.
Yeah, well, okay, so here's the thing. I wrote the video 3 months ago. So issues were still coming out. Thankfully, kind of if I wanted to do the video when the whole thing was wrapped up, I would have to make it next year when Saladin Ahmed is like finally done with it.
Right.
But it's to a point now where I can make the video.
I said that at the end of that video, like, because we're trying to do full arcs now, but like all 20 issues is the arc. The Assessor, the Ultimatum guy, the Green Goblin, all of that's been going on since like issue 7 now, I think. Because the first 6 was just the Rhino thing, and then it was like now we're into Assessor.
It's also with because the video like its linchpin is the Miles stuff that's happening, and how all the Spider-Man 2 stuff like threw that for a loop post Secret Wars.
Yeah.
But also I talk about the Maker and the Venom stuff that's been going on, and that all is like a whole other thing that seems like Ahmed and Cates are talking to each other, but
no, it doesn't.
Probably
That's my problem
not,
with that.
knowing Marvel.
I have a weird feeling that what's the pronunciation for the guy's name who does Miles, since you seem to have it actually?
Saladin Ahmed is what I've always said.
Saladin? Okay. He seems to have one idea for what he wants to do with this Ultimate Universe thing. But then Donny Cates has his idea for what he wants to do with this Ultimate Universe thing in the Maker. And so far, they don't seem to be mixing at all.
No.
Like
early on it was possible because they were being really vague about it. But it looks like, and I hope this is the direction they go. I hope Miles's whole Ultimate Universe thing is just about him getting his memories back and him, the personal effects that would come with that. Him realizing the trauma that happened in this other universe is still a thing, and exploring that. Whereas the Venom stuff is going to be like physically going back to the Ultimate Universe and the Maker toying with that, which is a whole other thing.
Yeah. Well, I would agree with you, except now Ultimatum's like, no, man, we're going to like totally go back there, figure this out, put you all back. Because I agree, early on, it could have very vaguely been, okay, he's going to remember everything, and characters are going to come to our side, but the Maker's going to go there, and we're going to see the aftermath of Secret Wars. And that would have been a cool idea, but now it looks like Ultimatum wants to send them all back. Ultimatum has commented how he's gone back there. Like, yeah, I go over there and hang out. Like,
I don't think he's done that. I think
he said he was stealing stuff from it.
He stole stuff from it at the end of Spider-Man 2. The stuff that he stole was all of the Ultimate gear that he uses for Ultimate. I don't think he's gone back since then.
Okay, because I took that as he's been going back. Like he has like a doorway in the
like
room.
Mysterio.
Yeah.
Right. Well, he did that once, and then the whole thing was blown open. It's a whole mess. I'm glad since this, I don't know when this video is going to come out. My thesis of the video is that Saladin Ahmed took the horrible continuity mess that Bendis left with Spider-Man 2 when he basically said that Miles remembered everything about the Ultimate Universe. He took that and was like, hey, that sucked, but I'm going to make it into something cool by having Miles, yes, he didn't remember anything, but now he's starting to.
Right.
And I'm going to turn this stupid 616 Miles character into something cool.
Okay, you know what? This is you've created an amazing segue for one of our topics today.
Ooh,
unintentionally. Because what does this sound like? super hyped up book like Spider-Man 2 comes out, does stupid ideas with the general concept, still loved by many fans, and now there's a sequel technically happening in the Miles Morales comic book to clean it up. What does that sound like, Sal?
Retcons?
No, Three Jokers. They're doing that
The
with
Three
Jokers.
Three Jokers, yeah. Yeah.
So
I got
apparently, Bleeding Cool broke the story this morning, and it was this morning. So at the time of talking, DC has made no comments. Bleeding Cool has not followed up. It's just a Bleeding Cool thing, which could be very easily a rumor. But supposedly, Jeff Johns and Jason Fabok are coming back to do a single-issue sequel to Three Jokers for the Omniverse, and it's going to also tie the Doomsday Clock stuff in.
No effing way.
For the what?
DC Omniverse is just what's coming after Future State, which is like a single-issue DC Universe Rebirth-esque book that's going to say, like, this is the new continuity now. And the new continuity suggesting that, like, basically...
Everything's continuity.
Everything happened. That, like, it's kind of Marvelizing DC, where it's like, you know, Detective Comics 27 happened in Batman's beginning, and it all happened. And it's just like, yeah, Batman went to space and hung out with Batmite at some point. Yeah, Batman had a dog that fought crime with him sometimes. Like, yeah, Dick Grayson was Robin for a long time. Like, yeah, it all happened. Like, it all happened.
Do you think that this is DC trying to just canonize everything, or is this because fans won't shut up about where does this fit in?
I think it's because I think it's DC not wanting to have to answer that question anymore because they don't want to be a comic book publisher anymore, and they're kind of like, like these are questions for Didio, and he's fired. So I don't want to answer those dumbass Didio questions anymore. So instead, we're going to change the universe, and we'll have company man Scott Snyder just manipulate his little like parody event into being a continuity justification for what we're doing back behind the scenes. Like, we're throwing away continuity, make that matter. And Snyder being like, story's what matters. It's all about story and like history, and it all happened. Is that good? And they're like, who gives a shit? Just put it out. Like, that's why they invented that guy, that Watcher guy, who was like, oh, let me just bring back Metron. Hey, Metron, I'm a new reader at DC. Where do I start? Metron's like, oh, you can start anywhere. New Watcher character, you could do anything. Dylan, I guess, because you said you haven't read comics in like 3 months, there's this horrible tie-in for Death Metal where like they literally introduce yet another cosmic character who's from a race of cosmic characters who chronicle the universe. They're called chroniclers, and he shows up and he's like,
he's not wrong.
And he's like, I'm from the Omniverse.
Who got paid that day?
I see universes and stuff, but I've never seen one as engaging or colorful or as cyclical as this one. Can someone explain to me what's up with this? And so he pulls the skull of Metron out of the dirt from the moon, and he brings him back to life. And he's like, Metron, explain to me what DC continuity is. And Metron's like, oh, it's kind of complicated, but what matters is that all these characters are fun and interesting, and you got lots of great stories out of it. So, like, who cares about continuity? And the Chronicle's
Doesn't he meet up with Tempest Fugonaut too at one point?
Yeah, that's Tempest Fugonaut of his race of Fugonauts.
Yeah, that's who I thought you were talking about.
No, that's what's so funny is that like we already had a guy like that called Tempest Fugonaut, and then it's like, no, yet another guy. Like, I can't.
You know what the best part about Tempest Fugonaut and about Scott Snyder is? Tempest Fugonaut is a part of Scott Snyder's Dark Multiverse, and then Scott Snyder created this other Dark Multiverse chronicler.
Yeah.
Or no one talked on that one?
No, what's great is Tynan invented the Chronicler. Snyder didn't even write that issue. So like, and don't blame Snyder for Tempest Fugonaut. I believe that was a Didio creation. But yeah, Tempest Fugonaut was just supposed to be, he was going to be this fun character that goes across the Dark Multiverse and collects characters for the Dark Crisis, and then like,
where's that at?
Oh, everyone's telling,
that's dead now.
Every time I talk about the Dark Crisis that Tempest Fugonaut was working towards, everyone's like, that's Death Metal, and I'm like, no, it's not. No. They're working on two crises. One was Dark Crisis, one was Death Metal, and now there's no crisis except for Death Metal.
Here's the worst part about.
If Death Metal is Dark Crisis, then where is like evil Lois Lane?
Where's Eradicator Lois Lane?
Here's the worst part about Tempest Fugonaut's. Here's the worst part about Tempest Fugonaut, the Dark Multiverse journey.
Yeah.
Okay? He was obviously building to a Dark Crisis. And the DC said, wow, these crazy, evil-looking what-if storylines are selling really well. Let's just do more of those. Because if you read the Hush issue, which there's no reason for Tempest Fugonaut to be there. He's just like, yeah, what's going on over here now?
Oh my God.
Crisis? I don't know what you're talking about.
I can't believe they used him in that. Because like all the other dark.
Did you not read it? Did you not read Hush?
No, he said he's not.
I haven't read it.
You haven't read it? Well, don't, because it's dumb. But
No, you. I thought you sound.
Oh no, I read it. I bought it.
Oh,
I have a
okay.
physical copy of it, unfortunately. But like, and I'm like, this is. By the way, it's hyperbole. It's hyperbole. I actually kind of enjoyed it. I was like, this is kind of fun. But like, who cares?
The general idea is there, but he doesn't mention building a team for the crisis anymore.
No, but he is there. And
out the
first
door.
page, I was like, "Oh my god, you're still using Tempest Huguenot?" because at the end of the day, that's who he is.
way.
Like, Tempest Huguenot is the Watcher for their What If books,
Yeah.
where he's like, "Oh man, I watched the universes, but what about this?" Like Tempest Huguenot, same deal. Oh man. I bet this won't end well because it's the Dark Multiverse. It can't. So like, but like, I liked the idea, like the fun idea of Tempest Huguenot being like, I'm collecting action figures for an event in the worst place ever. Could anyone possibly be a hero in a place where you're literally predisposed to not being a hero? Let's find out. And like each issue, he's like, nope, not here. Nope, not this one. And then in Hush, he's like, anyway, here's a neat story. Like, how about this? I'm the Crypt Keeper now. Like,
Okay, the worst part about the Hush storyline though is it has like zero to do with Hush or Batman.
it's just like what even is this? Like,
So, Dylan, let me explain to you the Batman Hush storyline real quick, okay? Because
Sure.
you don't need to read it. You don't need to read it.
No.
Here's the what
Wasn't
if on
planning
that one. What if Bruce Wayne died just way before Hush even happened?
like well,
I was
then
gonna say like during Hush. Or-
Yeah.
No, not during Hush. Long before Hush. Before he was Batman. He just died. And
What?
Thomas Elliot became mayor of Gotham.
No, he didn't die. He was sad, and he gets like he goes reclusive, like he retreats into himself. What if the idea is what if the Elliots and the Waynes were like such good friends that all of them were in the alley that night, but the Waynes still die in front of Bruce. Like there's virtually no change except like because Bruce had like a half like a kind of surrogate brother, he gets more sad and more reclusive and never goes on the
No,
pilgrimage.
he's dead. He was
No.
on the autopsy table.
No,
with Jack Napier cutting into him.
But at the end they're like, no, he faked it, and he was actually like Bruce Wayne becomes a Hush-esque Bat character who is he doesn't go on the pilgrimage to like learn like he did last time. Instead, he was like locked up in Arkham because he became like, he just got locked into his own head because of the trauma. And learns all like the crazy Batman-esque stuff from the fanatical lunatics that exist in Arkham Asylum. So it's like Hush in that instead of him fighting all the Arkham villains all inform his experiences and knowledge so that he is trained and capable of being something else and not Batman, but still looks exactly like Batman and does Batman-esque things. And it's like
he faked his death though. Thomas Elliot didn't know he was alive that whole time.
It's that
he's in Arkham. You're right, and he
he's
learns
in
from the Arkham people.
He gets the call that like Bruce is dead. He goes there.
This is how convoluted it is, Dylan.
It's only like 40 pages. Like it's so stupid.
I checked out like 2 minutes ago.
Yeah. The point is nothing. The point is Tempest Huguenot is still being used in these Dark Multiverse books, which I'm like, yay. You know what, DC? Do that Dark Crisis. Get those action figures out there. I still posit, like, the fact that, like, all those awful Dark Multiverse tie-ins are still coming out. I was like, that means you have absolutely every opportunity for there to be a scene where Tempest Huguenot kicks in the door, has all of his Dark Multiverse characters show up. And he's like, what up? Let's do this. And then the Darkest Night is like, blah, and just kills Tempest Huguenot, and the other characters just leave. And it's just one page by Capullo. I think it'd be hilarious. It's just, it would encapsulate everything that DiDio is building towards, which is to say, it's a big wasted opportunity that is a joke at the end. Like, that's what they should do.
Did you see the next time, though? They're doing another issue, and it says it to be the next time. The Flashpoint. How does that even make sense?
Oh, yeah.
So now in a Dark Multiverse...
Flashpoint.
Oh,
in a Dark Multiverse version of Flashpoint, they're going to alter timelines and multiverses.
No,
dude,
not necessarily.
They did Infinite Crisis Dark Multiverse. So there's an infinite.
True, they did do that.
What? Like, is there a so do they rebuild the? Is there a Dark Multiverse Anti-Monitor? How does that even work? What?
Wait. Did the Dark Multiverse build another Dark Multiverse? Which builds? Is it like an infinite loop of dark? Just like
they don't even know they're
create,
in the Dark Multiverse. Like they just think they're Blue Beetle and Batman and stuff. Like
because they're in the Dark Multiverse times 10. They're like 10 Dark Multiverses deep into the Dark Multiverse.
Right. It's just like
Dark Multiverse is all the way down.
Like you can't do crises in the Dark Multiverse death metal / Dark Knight's metal was the crisis of the Dark Multiverse, because the Dark Multiverse ultimately, in its own conceit, shouldn't exist. And Tempest Fugonaut's whole thing is like, this shouldn't exist, but isn't it wacky? And it's like, no. But and like, what's funny is, you know, we talked about the DC Omniverse and how it's like, oh, it's all happened, but like, then there's this silly ass Dark Multiverse. I don't know. It's just amazing.
The problem is, when we start to pick it apart, it's like a blooming onion.
Yeah.
Where you're just like,
there's no way.
And there's a sauce in the middle.
Yeah. Because it really is just like, because the Tales from the Dark Multiverse is just DC's What If. And if you wanted to just do DC's What If, that's cool. But like, the Dark Multiverse angle means A, it takes place in the Dark Multiverse. B, it has a numerical designation, which is, by the way, delineated by a negative sign behind the number. And I don't think the numbers correspond with the number of Earths that they are in the regular multiverse. So it's not like Earth 3 in the regular multiverse is Tales from the Dark Multiverse, Earth -3. So whatever. But you have the Tales from the Dark Multiverse What If books, which all, by the virtue of their existence, have to end badly, because that's literally every story in the Dark Multiverse. That's the whole conceit.
Restrictive.
So there's no payoff, and there's no there's no tension, because you know how it's going to end at the end, and and it shouldn't exist. Like, a dragon's supposed to destroy it and use its energy to make better Earths or some nonsense. So it's like, what are you doing? Like, just make What If. Like, don't put it in the Dark Multiverse. Except if they did that.
You're giving locations for people, for eventually Rip Hunter to grab a team and go through the Dark Multiverse.
I mean, like, at least that's a book. I mean, like, and by the way, regular universe What If, those are called Elseworlds. And
that's
those
what I was
are just
gonna say.
those just books. Like, those are just books you should make. And it's like,
see, Sal, if you call them Elseworlds, then you can't have Rip Hunter go in and grab them.
Sure you
for
can.
A
What are you
future
talking
story.
about? Look at, you remember that full page splash from Dark Knight's Metal where Gotham by Gaslight Batman, Dark Knight Returns Batman, and Vampire
God.
Batman and Batman all show up? Yeah, they get into the
They break their
multiversal
own
music
rules.
machine from Multiversity. Like, so yes, you can go into the Elseworlds worlds. Where's the Emerald Knight Batman? Like, there's all kinds of opportunities for that. But do that. Don't waste your time with this Dark Multiverse nonsense where it can't end well. Yeah.
So we haven't had a good Sal rant in a while. Like, poor Dylan. Poor Dylan is just like,
sorry.
Cool, Dark Multiverse.
Yeah.
They need to, you know what they need to
hush
do? They need to bring back the Imaginary Stories imprint from, like, the 40s or whatever.
Yeah, with Batman 2 and Robin 2. Like, where Batman marries Batwoman or whatever, and they, like, characters die
That's
on
real
distant
What
moons.
If.
Yeah.
Where it's like, it's so bizarre that not only you can't get those characters, you can't confuse it, and no one wants to go back there to grab characters for a new story.
Except, you know who does? Like, Grant Morrison, Scott Snyder, and all their proteges. They're like,
that's
ooh,
true. Remember this?
No one remembers that.
I didn't read it yet, but did you see Grant Morrison's cover to his latest Green Lantern? It looks like classic Green Lantern.
Okay.
Like, just because you're talking about Grant Morrison deep diving into, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Because he's like, oh, I remember this. Do you? No, man.
No, I don't.
Enjoy your participation trophy. The rest of us are trying to read these stories now.
I know, honestly, at this point with the Grant Morrison Green Lantern, I feel like that's what most of it is. It's like, do you remember Dark Stars? Oh, you're not as good. You're not as cool as a comic fan as I am.
That was in the 90s, man.
That's how I feel whenever I read anything by Dan Slott. I'm like, great, you've read every comic that's ever existed. I haven't, so I don't care about Bethany Cabe, but keep doing it.
Well, dude, with Dan Slott, I feel bad because it's like, yeah, no, man, I know you read those, and I know you were writing books in the 90s, but, like, maybe you should have reread them because there's some inconsistencies. And if you're going to make that deep cut, at least make it right.
I just feel like the buck stops with him including the character.
Yeah.
And it's like, this I've done, like, this is...
Welcome to Bendis' style of writing. Did you guys know that there's a fourth Superboy? I'm going to put him in.
Dude, yes.
I went on the wiki. Check this shit out.
You need to read the citations, man. You can't just use the character. You have to know where they came from last. Never.
All right, so I'm gonna name Tim Drake, because that'll be great It's a callback to his last name. Now you're just, what? I don't even know where you're deep diving anymore.
I honestly feel like that's where 90% of like small comic book like continuity errors come in. Is the writer will be writing a book, like the one that springs to mind to me, because of course, is Nick Spencer when he threw Spider-Woman into Amazing Spider-Man recently.
Yep.
He was just like, yeah, I've never read a comic book where Spider-Woman and Anya Corazon talk, so they must not know each other.
Oh my god.
Well, they have quite a history, and the last time we've seen them together, Jess was training her, and she makes a joke about how they've never met. And I'm like, that's just wrong. And I feel like it's just, he went to the wiki and was like, no, I don't see Jessica Drew on this page. So they must have never talked.
It's, I don't know, we're at a weird tangent, but this is a fun one of just the inconsistencies that we
Don't we
find.
have topics?
Eventually we'll get to those. You know what, let's go ahead, talk about inconsistencies. Let's talk about goddamn X-Men. Okay, so I've been on a journey recently to catch up on the X-Men. Sal, so I've gone through X-Men, right? I've gone through X-Force. I discovered there's a book called X-Factor. Why?
That's more recent, by the way, but yes.
Great book. Love X-Factor.
X Factor's garbage. Anyway,
no, love X Factor.
It's it's got female Banshee. Why? Like, just put Banshee.
I don't know who any of those characters are.
I know his kid. I know it's his kid. I know Sal. But speaking of deep cuts, hey, chat, did you know that Banshee, the guy that showed up for like one episode of the animated series way back in like the 90s, he had a kid at some point, probably in the 2000s, under like Claremont. And by the way, she wears the same outfit. So basically, it just looks like Banshee with long hair and boobs. So
I'm gonna look this up. Are you talking about Siren? Or are you talking about Banshee? Like, hang on a second.
It's Banshee's kid. It's wearing Banshee's outfit.
All right.
I want to make sure I'm talking about the same X Factor too, because I honestly could be talking about a different book.
There's a new X Factor book that's like part of the Hickman initiative. Yeah.
Leah Williams is writing it, right?
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah, I love this book. This book's great.
It's just a bunch of idiot kids. Okay, so first off, let's talk about.
That's why I like it.
So I've gone through Wolverine. First off, I've started X of Swords. I'm 4 issues into X of Swords now. Okay.
Yeah.
First off, can you explain to me? I've realized a problem. Huh? My bad. 10 of Swords.
10.
So first off, my big problem at the moment, I've realized one of my issues with this run.
Yeah.
Every X-Man talks like they're goddamn out of like a Shakespearean novel. Like,
all right.
Well, they're all high and mighty now.
When did they all become articulated masters of the English language? Like, I'm reading through X of Swords and the debate at the council, which, by the way, I got some thoughts on that bullshit.
Yeah.
And everyone's talking like they're a royal king or queen from like the 1800s. Hark thee, Charles Xavier. Hark! We need to have a discussion.
Well, let me tell you something. These people are not meant to be. They think they can't die, and they have their own island that talks to them. Like, they're going nuts.
Verily, Sal, I wholeheartedly agree with your decision to use Krakoa and this giant, massive island and we have these great, wonderful discussions, my dear friend.
If you're talking about the German who learned English, who's a priest, or the god named Storm.
Everyone talks like
Emma
they're freaking
Frost
like.
talks like that. Magneto talks like that. Xavier
Wolverine
talks like that. They all
that.
talk like that. Wolverine doesn't talk like that.
He does. No. Read the beginning of his chapter of X of Swords, which, by the way, I found hilarious because it's like we have like these couple of issues of just goddamn taking forever setup. Like there's a whole issue of the council meeting. There's a whole issue of the failure in Otherworld. Like. All of this could be so condensed. Everyone is just rambling and talking, and we have discount freaking Emma Frost running the whole thing. I know it's something 9.
That's Opal Luna Saturnine, and she's a real character. That's a good deep cut. Like that's a real cut.
But speaking of deep cuts, she's a discount Emma Frost. She has a white outfit. She's a blonde-haired girl. She has psychic abilities. What the fuck?
I thought she was Emma Frost until I watched the back issues on
on
that book. Yeah, I was like, that wasn't Emma Frost.
No, she looks like Emma Frost. She's an extra dimensional version of one of them. Like there's multiple Luna Sandernines. This one's like from Otherworld, and she's super powerful and she can do anything. And there's actually like a 616 equivalent, but it's not Emma Frost. Like it's just
I think
she's
what
a gorgeous
bothers me
white person who has blonde hair and has an affinity for floofy outfits.
She looks just like Emma Frost.
She's supposed to look like Emma Frost. It's a design decision based on her origins when she was brought up. Listen, Ten of Swords is the event between the big thing. I understand a lot of people's complaints with Ten of Swords because for them they're like, you set up this big thing. I saw the future. We got phalanxes and apocalypses and Moira lives, and then you did this thing that doesn't relate to any. It doesn't correlate. Moira's not in a Ten of Swords. It has nothing to do with the point of where House of X and Powers of 10.
Oh no, I know. It's a tournament arc. It's a tournament arc in your favorite anime. That's what it is to me.
It is Infinity during Hickman's Fantastic Four and Avengers run. Did you like Infinity?
Yeah,
I did.
Then there you go.
No, so anyway, let me so
it's the X-Men equivalent of the Avengers Infinity story.
The fact that this thing is 22 issues, they just dragged everything out. So here's my problem. I want to preface this just like everybody does. You know, I'm not trying to offend, but no. Anyway,
sure.
I want to preface this with though I am enjoying this.
Yeah,
but the fandom I think is what is irritating about X-Men because everyone's like X-Men's greatest thing ever. Hickman's writing this genius thing. The writing in this looks like a 16-year-old kid took a class and wrote a fan fiction. It's like some kid sits down and goes, look how smart I can be. I can use full sentences, and I'm going to have them have a council meeting. It's going to be so intelligent. All of you knaves won't understand what I'm saying. No, I get what you're saying. It's so asinine and pretentious and stupid at times. Like, why?
As someone who hasn't read the book, which like this could mean nothing, I feel like that might be the point. But I haven't read the book, so I don't know.
Maybe that is the point. Like there was that X Factor issue is an entire issue of them all being in shock that they can die. It's an entire issue, but no.
They just set it up. Like they just set up that they can't die, and then they're like, "Yo, if you go to Otherworld, which is where really quick, Ten of Swords is this. There's another realm over there. It's full of monsters that want to come over here. They have to go through this other place called Otherworld to get to here where we are, on Krakoa. The person in charge of Otherworld is this super powerful character called Saturnine. Because she can do anything, and she doesn't want like her area getting messed up, and the X-Men show up and they think they're gods and can do whatever they want, they kick in the door and she's like, neither of you can do whatever you want, I can do whatever I want.
Right.
You both have to fight each other, and whoever wins gets to go over there and and wreck everything or not. But either way, no one's wrecking my area. And they're like, okay, fine. So that's the event. The event is going to be these two fighting. That's it. Like that's what a Ten of Swords is.
And they're building up to it. They have 3 days to go get their swords. Wolverine's off getting Maramasum. We got random people showing up out of nowhere. They're like, oh, these people are going to help too. But I think what irritates me, Sal, is the exact response that I got in the chat a few times. They're like, Benny's not smart enough to get it. No, I am. It's not as smart as you think it is.
Yeah.
That is what I think bothers me. You got idiots. Clip this shit. Right. Idiots, like Comics Explained, sitting there like, I read the fucking wiki. Look how smart I am because I get X-Men. Nah, idiots.
I mean, so I think that...
Love you, Rob.
I think that it's taking, Hickman gets to do whatever the hell he wants, right? Like because because I'm giving him allowances, it's because Marvel's giving him allowances. He's like, I want to do a 1-to-1 of my run on the last thing, but with X-Men. So I'm going to have a big crazy event that has nothing to do with where I'm going and what I'm doing in the middle. And I think that's cool, objectively speaking, because
the event is cool. I actually like this event, Sal.
Right.
I am liking 10 of Swords.
Right.
What I'm finding hilarious about
shorter.
Oh, not even. Yes, there's a lot of unnecessary shit in here, which to me just comes across as pretentious.
Right.
I love Grant Morrison, but it's like reading a goddamn Grant Morrison run, and you're sitting there going, why do people think this is so intelligent?
Right.
Like,
Right, like-
what is this deep cut we're doing in a multiversal? He wrote chibi robots. Chibi robots. Like,
Yeah. Well, you know, I think that Hickman. Listen, I found Hawks and Pox to be almost impenetrable myself. Because I don't care about like alternate futures. Like when they were like, "Oh man, look at what the future's gonna happen with the gardens and crap." I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah.
It's not relevant to me. And it's like, but it's kind of fun because it's like it's a mystery, and for a lot of people, you know, mysteries are fun to unravel, and Hickman is very deliberate in his like telegraphing. This is a mystery, and it's not one of those mysteries where at the end, you find out that I've been deliberately withholding information from you. It's not a Sherlock Holmes mystery where it's like, oh,
Right.
I bet you didn't know this. It's the number 23. Like, no, it's the fact that there's a bunch of like allusions to Ten of Swords within Hawks and Pox. It's kind of like, oh, cool. Like you were setting this up a while ago. Like,
Yeah.
you're not a
thought out.
hack who's just wasting our time being like,
Right.
oh man, I put this. Wolverine stabbed Saturnine. What am I gonna do now? I don't know.
Kenny has a great example, like Event of Leviathan, where everyone's like, "It's the smartest thing ever." Who's the mystery character? Guy we've never heard of or seen once.
Yeah. I mean,
That's how that ended?
That's how that ended.
No, did you
It was a
read?
deep cut.
Yeah, did
it
you
was
read
a deep
comics in
cut.
the
Oh, okay.
80s?
Oh, that's the worst.
Yeah,
I dropped that after
sucks.
issue 1. I was like, I don't want to.
It
This is
ended
going
up
somewhere.
being no one that was implied, and it was some random guy from the 80s.
Yeah.
that
No,
no one's heard of.
Great.
Yeah, I read the first issue and was like, ugh, and then waited for it to be
Yeah.
all over, read it all, and was like, thank God I did not read this to month. And,
Like,
yeah.
I mean, I am enjoying X of Swords, and I will say I do backpedal on what I said originally, where I just didn't enjoy the Hickman stuff, and I didn't want to be a part of it because I don't like the X-Men stuff. I am enjoying what he's doing. I'm having a lot of fun with it. I even enjoyed all the I think what irritates me is it's just the overall fandom reaction of like, you have to like it or you just don't get it.
right.
And I think that's what bothers me because I'm like, I 100% get it.
Right.
I 100% get what he's doing. That doesn't make 22 issues needed. Just because you can have Apocalypse spend an entire issue building up a mythology that we will maybe reference later,
Yeah.
doesn't make it this genius piece of work.
Right.
Also, they also redid 12 and 14 as the same issue.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I think the best comparison that you could make to Ten of Swords is Infinity for a lot of reasons.
Right.
I think the biggest two are just like, if you look back at Infinity, if you read Hickman's Avengers from start to finish and you
Yep.
read through Infinity, you're like, that was fun. But like compare Infinity, which was his like midway event, to Secret Wars.
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, huh. Like everything was being
It's
set
apples
up
and
to
oranges.
that.
Well, and,
Right.
yeah, well, because Infinity, you're like, what? Like, like Infinity.
It's like it was a thing that happened.
It's a
and
thing
I'm
that
sure
happened, and
If,
you're- and
if
that-
you were reading it while it was happening,
It was
you were probably
crazy.
same thing. Like, what is going on? 20 issues
Yeah.
of this? I don't care.
Yeah, I was
Get
like
back
that
to the
when Infinity
incursion.
came out.
I
I was like,
think
who
that-
gives a shit? Like
Yeah.
halfway through, except when things were baller. Like, oh my god, did you see Thor kill that dude? What? Like, and yeah, you know what? Totally earned because those guys were pain in the ass, erudite douche nozzles, and it's like, yeah, Thor really put them in their place. Awesome. Avengers Worlds, cool. But at the end of the day, like, you know, Thanos shows up on Earth and he's like, I'm in the movies, and then like Captain Marvel punches him in the face, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh. That was
The,
why is he on the
I think-
cover?
I think what the X-Men run right now, what this is really showing me, okay, is the comic book fandom confuses high
Fantasy.
what's it called? Not even high fantasy. They confuse high. What's the word? Real big
Language?
think pieces, real big thought pieces,
Big
like a lot of
smart-
like. Well, like a lot of
Highbrow?
the indie books, a lot of highbrow. That's it. A lot of highbrow, a lot of indie books. They confuse what is considered like a high thought process, a high brain, big like concept that you'll see in the indie world, and you'll
Yeah.
see in the stuff like that. They high quality, high concept. There you go. They consider high. They think high concept
Yeah.
is high intelligence.
Right.
They think the idea
They're
of
not
taking
even-
the X-Men and making them do a tournament arc is high intelligence. They think deep diving 30 years of X-Men characters like Saturn 9 Mind and Banshee's kid and, all these random X-Men that you haven't heard of in 20 years is a super intelligent way to do the book. It's a good book. It's a good story, but it's not super intelligent because you write them talking weird.
Right.
Which is, or because it takes 5 issues to get to the point.
Right.
And I think that's what bothers me.
It's the same with comic fans and a lot of just like general fans of media that are like comic books. If they see something like, oh, Captain America showed up and punched him, oh, then suddenly it's like the best book in the world, even if like nothing else happens. Like if their favorite character pops up and just shows up for a split second, that's a mark of quality, even though it's not.
I've just seen so many people that are like, oh, it took 10 issues to get to the point of Hickman's run.
Right.
That is so intelligent.
No, I've heard the inverse.
It's not inherently intelligent because Grant Morrison took 12 issues to get the Dark Stars.
Right.
That does not make it by default a high concept intelligent run.
And I remember people saying the opposite of that, where people are like, it took 10 issues to get to the point, and it's like the point is the journey and the story. Like if you. Hickman is given normally these comic writers are only given a short amount of time to tell as much story as they possibly can. And others have earned / been given their opportunity to do whatever the hell they want. And Hickman's like, I get to feel my oats. I get to like take my time. Like if I want to take an issue, a whole issue where Magneto and Namor go to the bottom of the ocean and grab a key, then I'm going to do that. And I'm going to charge you $8 to do it. And it's like, that's
I think that's the worst part.
But like when it's all collected / if you're there for the journey, then you find yourself kind of like enjoying those moments where it's like, man, I got to take a whole minute just to like, because of the nature of comics where it's like everything's got to happen right now. Like, and all of it has to happen and it has to matter. When you get that moment to just kind of like, you can actually look at any show on Netflix versus like serialized TV, right? Serialized TV, here's your structure, here's all the show, blah, 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 and like at the end of each cliffhanger, you got to have like every commercial break has to have a huge cliffhanger. Whereas like in any like, show that it doesn't matter to the sponsors, you can be like, this episode's gonna be dedicated to this one character. We're just gonna look at this, and we're just gonna take that minute. And if you and people like we did it with the Netflix Marvel shows, where it's like, why did we spend an entire episode with Karen in the past in her dad's restaurant? This is lame. And it's like because we only have 2 more episodes left of the show, and we didn't get a chance to do that, and I want to do it. And if it doesn't matter to you, you can skip it. Like who gives a shit? But like, I want to tell this story, and I want to explain this about Karen so that you know like more about her later, so that you understand the depth of her character. And it's like, it's exploring the space, and it's exploring the format, and it's playing with format. And it's like, listen, the people who are the first ones to throw their hats over the wall or try something, they're not always going to be the ones who are celebrated for doing it because like they're the first ones to have done it. Like and it's not going to be like a clean, obvious process. It's going to be kind of messy, or it's going to be like Claremont wrote X-Men for like 15 years, and people were used to that kind of storytelling for X-Men. And it just, by the end of it, it's just like everything is happening all at once, and like there's no time for anything, and everything that happened was the most important thing ever. And so now you're getting this other version of the X-Men where it's like, because the X-Men haven't mattered for like however long Marvel has been in a pissing contest with Fox until Disney acquired it, now we get this minute where it's like, let's just take a minute. And just like, we'll do the biggest thing with X-Men, because obviously anything worth their salt with the X-Men is the biggest GD thing ever.
Right.
But like, let's take a minute and just be like, you know who's cool? Storm. See? Hey, you know who's cool?
No, and I'm liking the overall run. I actually like this run. It's kind of like my reaction when I got into Avatar. Okay.
You don't like Avatar. Like, I remember
I'm pissing off every fan.
No, don't like it.
Hold on. I in the end did not like Avatar.
Right.
Okay.
The Last Airbender, not the Blue Cats.
Right.
Because none of us like Avatar.
No.
Actually, I don't understand why I didn't like it. I watched that M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong one.
Yeah. That was dope. No.
Yeah. But the Avatar fan base has that very much, like, oh, it's so intelligent, they really flesh things out, they do all these other things, and I don't like Avatar. Now, Dan and I discuss it, and I'll double back to this in a minute. We've just figured out why I think I don't like Avatar.
Right.
Okay. And it is because I got 36 episodes into that, Sal. I didn't. It's not like I watched one and said, "Fuck this."
I just remember you at the end of it being like, "I'm still not down."
Yeah, but the X-Men situation. It's the fan base. The fan base is the problem with Avatar, and the fan base is the problem with X-Men because Hickman took over on X-Men, and so many people act like what? Here's what I like about X-Men's run. Okay, here's what I like. Here's what I do like about Hickman and X-Men's run.
Yeah.
What I'm enjoying about it is Hickman is doing something different.
Right.
There is a lot of stuff happening on Krakoa. There's a lot of factions happening. There's a lot of deep dives. There's characters that made no sense being separate now working together.
Yeah.
Like if Apocalypse's goal and Magneto's goal, they're similar. Why aren't they working together? Oh, now they are. He's making a lot of sense out of the confusing nature that is the X-Men, and I like that. I do.
Yeah.
But the X-Men fan base treats it like because Hickman is writing it, everything he's doing is the most intelligent thing in the world. And sometimes they're reading it going, no, he just wrote an issue about old ladies fighting Cyclops.
Yeah.
Like, that's all that is.
I guess he's just having fun with that. I mean, like, I don't understand what the point of those characters are. But again, like, you know, I don't expect everything to be for me or everything that is something I'm enjoying to be great. And I'm not saying you are either. I'm just saying, like, when it comes to that, I operate very much in a vacuum when it comes to fandoms. Like, when Avatar: The Last Airbender came out, I caught that because my wife told me it was cool. And so I watched it, and I'm like, oh, I love this. And I loved it by myself in a vacuum. Gravity Falls, same deal. I bet I wouldn't like to hang out in the subreddit for Gravity Falls. But I love unabashedly Gravity Falls. I thought that was amazing. But like, and I'm not going to judge you if you don't like it, but like, we're not going to talk about it until you've seen it. And I'm not going to go into that world. With X-Men, I have no idea what the public thinks about X-Men, except when they yell at me. Like when they're like, "This is boring," and I'm like, "Okay, you don't think it's boring, right on." But like, I don't participate in that discourse. You know, like I just kind of go like, I read it. Here's what I think. That's it.
But here's my issue, and I know you like to play with Twitter a lot, Dylan. So you probably hear the same thing. The fandom for Avatar, the fandom for X-Men, the fandom for anything.
Like it's a
the problem I have with fandoms in general, I think these days, is the general mentality is you either enjoy my fandom and you get it, or you're not smart enough to get it.
Well, yes, that's the
like it's not. There's never a reason why you could be disliking it. There's never a problem. You're not allowed to have an opinion. It's you're not smart enough to understand.
Welcome to fandoms welcome to the internet argument about anything. Like,
I know.
Literally, if you
like
hold
it or
an
you don't.
opinion and it's
Rick and Morty. Chad brought that. Rick and Morty's a great example. If you don't like Rick and Morty, you're just too dumb for it.
Yeah. If there's a copy pasta for it, you know, like there it is. Like there's a Rick and Morty copy pasta. It's hilarious. Where it's just like you must have a high IQ in order to understand Rick and Morty, and it's like no. But that's the justification for anything because that's what they value, right? It's like like most people who say if you don't get it, you're not smart enough. They value intelligence, or at least they think they do, or they say they do, and it's the only way to argue against someone having a different opinion from you. Because, like, it's like, I don't like, you know, it's like it's saying, I don't like the X-Men run. I think it's really pretentious and it's taking too long. And he's literally decompressing 2 issues of story into, like, a 12-issue miniseries. And it's like, right on, can't argue with that. But, like, some people like that.
I'm enjoying it, but I do think it's taking too long, and I do think it's pretentious.
Yeah, no. But, like, and right on, I can't argue with you. Like, that's... Yes, he's doing that. Yes.
Contrast to that, we have Donny Cates over there being like, "I'll murder everyone."
Right. Well, what's
and
funny
like
about
every
that
one
is,
of his books.
People are like, "Hey, are you reading Venom?" I'm like, I couldn't give a shit about Venom. And they're like, "No, but it's really cool." I'm like, that doesn't.
Do you know why you don't give a shit about Venom, Sal? You're just not smart enough to understand what he's doing.
That's lit. I have heard that. Like,
you don't get Null.
Yeah, no, you don't get Null. Well, I do know he's coming.
He's coming, Sal.
He is coming.
Sal, are you enjoying Donny Cates' Thor? If you aren't, then you just don't understand how his character arc on Donald Blake and why he's insane now.
Yeah, no, I read some of Thor and was like, I don't want this either. The argument is always going to be you're not smart enough. And it's just what they're really saying is I respect your opinion, or you have a big following and I don't understand why we have differences of opinion. So therefore, you're not smart enough. Like it's just a deflection technique to keep it so that it's not that we have different opinions and that I can allow and tolerate your opinion to exist in the world. It's I have to diminish your opinion by making it not right because you're not smart enough to understand. And it's like
I want to close out. I want to close out the X-Men discussion because Dylan does have something to say.
Oh yeah,
I know you do, and I want to let you talk. Sure. I just want to close it. the generalized discussion by basically stating like, you're all idiots. No. Why can't we all just enjoy what we enjoy and not enjoy what we don't enjoy? Like, I think that's my mentality. Yeah. Why we have to have like such argumentative opinions on things.
Yeah.
Why can't it be like, hey, I'm liking X-Men. Oh man, did you see the deep dive he did on blah, blah, blah? Or do you like the way that he's doing this, that, and the other thing? And I go, no, but I like the way Wolverine clawed a bunch of people.
Yeah. That's what I told you. I was like, dude, you're going to like X-Force, you're going to go Wolverine, and you're going to read X-Men. Like, those are your 3 books.
Dylan, what were you saying? I'm sorry.
I have lots of thoughts, but the main thing I was trying to say was it'll come to me. Give me a second.
Like, no, it'll come.
It'll come. Like, no, yes.
The Black King is coming, Sal. Deal with it.
Is Null the Black King? What's happening?
He's something. He's got 70 titles. He's the first guy. That's what I call him.
Yeah.
The main thing I think is the problem with like when fandoms get attached to something and they start saying that it's really smart and they talk down on you if you don't like it because it's too smart for you. I think that comes from comic books, especially superhero comic books, kind of being written in 2 camps. If you really want to generalize, where one of them is the issue by issue, every book has a cliffhanger, every book is like, whoa, fights, biggest thing you've ever seen. And then there's the other stuff, which is a little more heady, high concept, where it's, you know, your Hickmans, your Tom Kings,
your Morrisons,
sometimes,
your
Morrisons. And that's this kind of stuff where if you've been reading the first camp of comics for a while, and you find like a Hickman book, you find this X-Men Hickman book, and you read it and you like it, you're like, whoa, this is the best shit I have ever read. Because suddenly you're introduced to what I think is the better side of comics, and now you're like personally attached to this. And if someone says it's bad, your immediate response, because you think it's really smart, is, oh, they don't get it because I'm high intelligence.
It challenged my conventions and I still liked it, which means
exactly
I've like, learned something.
Yeah, if something challenges your conventions about something and you don't like it, then it's bad. It's stupid. Right. But if you end up liking it, oh, it's the best thing in the world. It's like that's not how it works.
No.
But
I think for me, when it comes to my high concept comics, I prefer it in the indie market. I'm not saying it's bad in the superhero world because it does. It breaks open the superhero mold.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of times, which is why I have problems getting into something like X-Men, but then really enjoying it, is because you go in expecting, you know. Wolverine's gonna claw a guy. There's gonna be a cliffhanger, and then we're gonna have somebody argue about this. You know what I mean? Like,
well, he still does. You know,
but maybe Wolverine was a bad example.
Yeah, but he's also having sex with Cyclops, and it's like, wait, what?
the problem is because superhero comics, like, you don't see a lot of that heady stuff working because a lot of characters in superhero comics are fundamentally like at odds with that style of writing. Like, you take a character like the Hulk, and you can apply like heady commentary to him with a lot of work, which is what Al Ewing has been doing.
Hulk, I was like, Immortal Hulk has taken 35 issues to get to that high concept headspace. But and you know how many things he had to smash to get there?
Yeah. And there are characters that you can, with the right writer, come along and say, hey, we're gonna play with something. Like my favorite comic book is the first volume of Matt Fraction's Invincible Iron Man. And I think the reason that's so good is because, to me, Iron Man is not a punchy, smashy laser character.
Right.
He has always been a tortured drunk who is dealing with that and has been dealing with that. And he has these demons about him. And then you have the 5 Nightmares arc where he talks about his 5 nightmares and how all of them come true. And there is the punchy, smashy stuff.
You get that too.
Yeah, because it's a superhero book. You need that. But in the back of it, it's, you know, it's staying true to the character and it's elevating him to a level where you don't normally see with a different writer. And I think that's what, like, at least, like, personally, my taste, if it is just punchy smashy, like, you know, a lot of event comics, they're gonna lose me quick. Like, I've at this moment dropped Death Metal just because I think there's interesting things, but at the end of the day, it's just big multiverse, and I just don't care.
Look at
Empire too.
I like Death Metal, but I do agree. I think by doing so many tie-ins that are important, it's sprawling out of control.
There's too much.
It's like someone got an elastic ball and they're starting to shoot off of it. Like, the core's there. I like it. But now we've got like 5 issues of the one who laughs and how he transformed and like
when Superboy Prime coming back is a footnote in your story, you have a problem.
Yeah, when you needed a tie-in to have him come back, like it's not just a big deal in your book. Yeah, I think the other problem, the ultimate problem, is that because of the nature of the internet and its effect on humanity, this is a larger concept problem. It's that we talk about microcosms. We're our wheelhouse is comics, but like there's a movie podcast talking about this exact same thing. There's a newspaper podcast talking about this. Like there's a sports team podcast talking about this. Is that due to the nature of the internet and our ability to tailor our interests from a assortment of everything into a collection of only the things that speak to me, you have a fiercely disproportionate amount of tribalism, such that you have not seen before in human history. And as a result, like, it's going to leak out into every other facet of our culture because, like, that's how it works. And so I think that, like, some people would argue that, it's the comic book discourse has never been worse. And they're probably right because people have never been more divided, tribalized, and radicalized for their own interests. I always go back to Star Wars. There used to be a time when people were Star Trek or Star Wars fans. Yeah. And now...
Trekkies versus Star Wars. Yeah. We never had a name for Star Wars fans. It was
always Star Wars fans. People tried Warsies, which sucked.
Ew. Ew.
I liked Jedi, but, like, whatever. But, like, but the idea here was, like, there used to be Star Trek versus Star Wars. Two totally different concepts. One's, like, more hardline sci-fi. One is more high-concept fantasy. One's more about, like, feelings. The other one's more about logic. Fine. Star Wars, once the remasters came in, people were like, oh, I prefer this to this. The prequels came in. Oh, now I'm a prequels fan versus a non-prequels fan. Then the sequels came in. Then the expanded universe. And then and each thing that it got introduced, it's not... there used to be novels and movies and cartoon shows for Star Wars pre-internet or pre-ubiquitous internet. Right. And it wasn't nearly as fiercely tribalist as it is now. And it's because of the internet and its influence on culture that people have now become fiercely protective of not their fandoms, their worldview, which is defined by their interests, which prop up this bubble they've created around themselves. So, like, I mean,
you can't, like, you and me liking something in this day and age isn't the same. No. Because you like it for this X-Men. I like it because it's changing the idea of X-Men and spinning it on its head. But you like it because it's a sprawling Hickman storyline that's going to be coming together in 50 issues. Yeah. And that makes us different. That means that my version of X-Men isn't as good as your version of X-Men.
That's what people would say. And it's like, no. Like, what you need to understand is that, like, you have been, and more or less, like, most people who have that argument, who are like, your opinion's bad and you should feel bad.
Yeah,
it's like, listen.
I say that to Dylan every morning.
Yeah,
that's what I wake up to, unprompted.
But it's like, no, man, you, through no fault of your own, have been manipulated by a system that was, like, created by robots and bullshit to make you think you care more about these things than you probably should. And I'm not saying like comics are your life and that sucks. And I'm saying, like, tribalism.
I love comics. It is my life.
Yeah, same. Yes, but, like, tribalism is dangerous and it's toxic and it makes you, like, sick. And if you have that kind of, like, I remember hearing disparate opinions about stuff when I was a kid and being, like, shocked and confused because I was a kid and I didn't hear any other worldview. And I haven't felt like that. Like, when I got older, I stopped feeling that way. But I noticed that, like, the more insulated and internet, like, connected I became, the more I started to recede back into that. And it took, like, effort and work to break that, to be like, no. Like, you can have a strong opinion, and it doesn't mean you're an idiot. And it doesn't mean that you're wrong. And, like, sharing that opinion, I mean, that's the nature of our channel, is, like, sharing strongly held opinions, and I've been hearing every day for 7 years what an idiot I am for having these opinions, and how uninformed
I started doing
I am.
my opinion. I've started doing my opinion pieces on a weekly basis now, as opposed to the occasional. And I every episode. Wow, no other comic book channel is as negative as you.
Boom.
Even when I open it with like, man, I love this book, but here's my problems.
They don't
you are
hear
the
that.
most negative comic book channel in the world. And my normal response is, you really should try and find more channels.
Yeah, watch Comic Pop. You will freak out. we were once called dangerous by some jackass who was like, no. See, because you have a different opinion
Sal's
of me.
got an agenda.
Yeah. Oh no. That's the most amazing thing is that no one's like Sal's an agenda. He's trying to. No, they're like you are so wrong in your opinion because you are so unintelligent. You are so uninformed that because you have a platform, you are disseminating wrong information out there. And because of like the nature of your show, like looking polished and stuff, people are gonna mistake that for accuracy and for like for like true. No, but that's dangerous because you're gonna infect the world with your opinion, which is wrong, by the way. And it's like, dude.
Flashpool's got to get it in. Make that a shirt. Comic Pop is dangerous.
I know, we've been working on that. We're trying to figure it out. I think it might be a sticker. Like the most dangerous comic book channel out there.
So I need to wrap up my portion. You guys can keep going afterwards if you guys want to keep talking. But I have a doctor's appointment to get to.
Oh, yeah, we got to go. I'm sorry. Excelsior got it copyrighted. What the hell?
Did
you know about that, Dylan?
No, but that's wacky.
Yeah, it got copyrighted by POW Entertainment.
Stanley's
thing.
Oh.
So Marvel's like,
Yikes.
we can't use that anymore.
Sucks.
That's really scummy.
That's
Piss
really
off.
scummy.
Don't do that.
Yeah. That sucks.
So
yeah.
So anyway, I did want to end with real quick. I will be live in about an hour and a half ish after my doctor's appointment. We're going to be doing the entire Destiny storyline. Me, Coda, and Sod from our chat here. We're going to be doing the whole storyline tonight. If the servers come up, they've been down all day, so it's kind of been funky and weird. I wanted to put that out there. Also, don't forget you can check out Dylan over at Orbs Comics. I'm going to tell you guys why I don't like
Orbs
Avatar in a
Corner.
second, but yep. Because it's funny because now I say the right way that anyway.
I changed my channel name to the one that you always said wrong, and now you say the one that I changed it from.
And if you guys like Dylan's opinion, I know he didn't get to say very much today. This was a very rant episode for me and Sal for some reason. Okay. I don't know why.
To be fair, I came in on, like, I wasn't supposed to be on this episode, and the topics were already picked. So, like...
Yeah, but we didn't use any of them.
Sure, but, like, you know, we still talked about stuff, about comics and stuff that I hadn't read. Like, we talked a lot about Ten of Swords, and I
well, maybe we'll have you back next Tuesday or the Tuesday after that, depending on when your break ends. But we'll have you back on. We'll do a makeup episode for you.
Yeah.
But if we can check us out over at
Spider-Woman the whole time. I would love to get on a soapbox about the horrible new Spider-Woman book.
Okay, that's going to be next week. You're going to get the soapbox about that.
Cool.
But I do want to say real quick, the reasoning, and here's the thought process we think as to why I don't like Avatar. Because I was talking to Dan, and I was like, look, it's a baby show for babies. No, I'm kidding. No, I was like, the storylines are childish. Everything that happens is very tropey. It all feels like it was structured around the mentality of a 12 to 13-year-old. The plot lines, and it's plot lines I've seen a dozen times before. Nothing feels original. Nothing feels fun. The characters themselves are character tropes that I've seen a dozen times. The fight sequences I've seen done better and other stuff. And that the phrasing there is what we figured out. So many things have taken the concepts of Avatar. I've experienced all of this, just not from Avatar.
Right.
So experiencing everything else and then going back to Avatar just looks like a show ripping off all these other shows that ripped off Avatar.
Right. Yeah. It's like it begat all these things, and you're like, well, this is all. Yeah.
That's like, I watched Akira for the first time a few years ago, and I was like, this is fine. And everyone I watched it was like, what? It's the best thing in the world. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I get that it did a lot.
I've seen it a lot, though. Like, I've seen all this before.
Past that, but like, I didn't see it when it came out, so...
Yeah,
and that's just it. And I think that because Dan and I were talking about it, he goes, think about, because I don't know if you're aware of this, but I consume a lot of media. Fun side note: at the very opening of Watch Dogs Legion, I said, "Here's what I think the plot is," and I was 100% right. I got to the ending, and I'm like, "Holy shit! How did I call that?"
Yeah. Because you watch a lot of stuff. Like, if
I consume a lot of media, a lot. And so the problem with that is so much stuff has been taken from Avatar to put into follow-up shows, other animes, other live action, that a lot of Avatar felt tropey to me. But that's because the tropes came out of Avatar.
Right. Or Avatar actually did them successfully and then like you see it later. Like it's so funny when you see something that like begats something else and you're like, oh, that's kind of like it's why a lot of people like nowadays don't have as much affinity for Dark Knight Returns, because it's like, oh, look, it's a grim and gritty Batman who's like a psychopath. Yeah, that's him for the last 30 years.
Right.
Same thing with Killing Joke. People are like, "Oh, the Killing Joke, that's not dark and gritty."
It's like, you should have been reading Batman comics in '87. Like, it was crazy. Like, or read it when you're 12. You know what I mean? Where you're like, "Oh my God, that's not Batman!"
Well,
like that's.
What? You know what? A great example, even the concepts of Kingdom Come. Everyone loves Kingdom Come.
Yes.
But Injustice has now basically taken that concept and sprawled it way the hell out into a different direction.
Yeah.
So now it's like, well, Kingdom Come's just a clone of Injustice. I mean, I would slap that person, but you know what I'm saying. Like, that's where...
Hey, Dylan got freaking timed out in the chat.
Because I'm trying to post my channel link correctly. People keep saying it doesn't work, so I'm trying to find the right one. And they're like, no.
Like, that's enough, Orem, stop.
No, stop self-promoting.
All right. So anyway, I got to let you close out the show because I've got to run.
Yes.
I got 12 minutes to make it 15 minutes on the road.
All right, man. It's going to screw up the picture, so let's just wrap up. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. We'll see you guys next week with an all-new episode of Absolute Comics. Check us out.
And check out the Comic Story Gaming channel, about an hour for Destiny 2 with me, Sod, and Coda. Check out Tiffany right now over at Comic Pop.
Yeah, Twitch.tv/Comic Pop.
Yeah, twitch.tv/Comic Pop. And don't forget, Thursday we'll be back with another comics experiment, another D&D show. Everything will be back to normal on Thursday. Thank you guys so much for your continued support. If you want to continue supporting Absolute Comics, please consider subscribing right here on Twitch. Please consider going to the Patreon, patreon.com/Comic Pop and Comic Storian. And overall, just thank you guys so much for being here and watching the show. I apologize that we're cutting this in a very short window, but I have to run to the doctor. Don't panic. Nothing, just yearly physical. No big deal.
It's all good.
I'm an old man. We got to get those now. Thanks, guys.